Will not.
You don't watch anybody else.
We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Careful, the chairs are adjusted.
Good morning. Welcome to the April 23rd, 2018 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair of the commission, and joining me today is Commissioner Shelley Bueller. Good morning.
Morning.
And Commissioner Bob Archer. Good morning.
Good morning.
I noticed that Sheriff Jones is with us this morning. Good to see you, Sheriff. Good morning. Madam Clerk, if we could start with our first item.
First item under proclamations, presentation and consideration of proposed expansion of Master Gardener's Vegetable Demonstration Garden at the Kansas Expo Center. Lisa Martin, Extension.
Good morning, Lisa Martin, Shawnee County Extension Office, and we would like to propose expanding our current Extension Master Gardener vegetable garden into a teaching community garden, and we'd like to make that for people of all abilities in all spaces. So just to review the benefits of gardening, of course, most important to me is increased access to healthier foods, provides an avenue for physical activity. It's also a learning lab. It provides a sense of community and teamwork. It helps increase our green space. And in areas of town where we have more violence, it does help reduce violence. So the purpose of our teaching community garden is to provide basic garden training. We also provide training on leadership and garden management, so what it takes to have a community garden. We want to provide examples for all abilities in all spaces, and then we will also provide nutrition and food safety education. We do want to keep public safety in mind, and so we will consider site and soil selection, sanitation and tool safety, also making sure that we have proper water and irrigation. Think about our compost and fertilizers, pest and animal management, and of course food safety and harvesting and storing produce. So I'm going to turn it over to Ariel Whiteley.
Good morning, I'm Ariel Whiteley. Thank you for the creative naming, though. Shawnee County Research and Extension. So we do want to talk a little bit about soil tests for contaminants, and there's one reason in particular, and that's that this is considered an urban soil, the site that it's at, particularly if we would look at expanding where the current train is. Hopefully that will be leaving us at some point, and we could potentially expand our garden into that area. The train, I don't necessarily know what could be leaking, dripping off of that, but we're kind of considering it as a gas station. That's sort of the closest we have as far as contaminants go. And we have to look at the possibility that in those soils there would be lead and other metals, and specifically petroleum, none of which we want to consume or want to give to others to consume. But there are a lot of really innovative and important gardening practices that can help to mediate the soils. So adding organic matter, that's partially just dilution, but also improving the soil structure improves microbes, and those help to get rid of some of these contaminants. Gardening in raised beds is essentially just staying away from the soil and the contaminants that could be in it. Wearing gloves and changing clothes, that is particularly, they say with lead, not letting children eat soil, not letting them touch it and touch their mouths and things like that, but wearing gloves can go a long way. Mulching walkways to avoid sort of disturbing those contaminants. And then using cover crops in off-season, and probably in the area of the train, we would first test for these contaminants. And if they were present, there's some really interesting research. I don't hope that there's lead in the soil, but I am interested in doing some of this research. There are some really interesting studies about cover crops. And the process is actually called phytoremediation, where the plants take up these contaminants and turn them into something beneficial. And then there's also new studies that show that certain plants encourage soil microbes that actually do that same process. So we don't want there to be contaminated soils, but I'm going to find them somewhere because there's some really interesting studies to be done on that. And then, a lot of this is going to be, what Lisa follows up with is really cleaning the produce, removing the outer leaves of leafy greens, which tend to be the better type of plant to use if you do have soil contaminants. You'd want to avoid root crops like carrots because obviously they're right in there. And then just continually checking. K-State tests for a lot of these, and then we also have a lab in Kansas City that tests for the rest. And there are a lot of different things that contaminate soils, but we think that these would be the most likely we could find. But hopefully we don't find any, and we have nice, healthy soils. So our location, we're looking to be west and south of our current vegetable garden. So our Shawnee County Extension Master Gardeners currently have a demonstration vegetable garden. This will be separate from it, but right next door. So it'll be a totally different demonstration garden, but in the same area. Eventually, we could move north of the container if that locomotive does leave us. And in 2018, we're looking at just trying a couple vegetables, starting very small. 2019, we'd like to move to more raised beds. We'd really like to show what you can do with very little space. I think oftentimes people think if you don't have a big backyard, you can't grow things, and we'd like to show them that they can. And then in 2020, we'd really like to move towards a children's teaching lab. As we know through our experience with 4-H, particularly at the Extension office, when you teach children, they teach their families. And so we're really excited about moving to that children's teaching lab in 2020. So just to give you an idea where that little star is kind of our initial spot. If you can see the white, that is where our container is, and then the locomotive, eventually we'd sort of like to wrap our vegetable garden, our current vegetable garden. So funding, probably the best part about this entire presentation is we're not asking for any money. We will be looking for grants, donations, and corporate funding. We're already partnered with SNAP-Ed, Lowe's, Skinner's, Jackson's, our Shawnee County Extension Master Gardeners, and Topeka Common Ground. And all of those, all the latter except for SNAP. SNAP's where we're getting our educational materials from. And the rest, we've already gotten seed donation, plant donations, and things like that. So we're very fortunate to already have those existing partnerships. Do you have any questions for us?
I think probably to start with coordination with HTK and the expansion of the Expo Center. This isn't going to conflict with anything that they're working on or working with?
No, that's a great question. If you flip to the third page of that packet, we were kind of sitting on the edge of our seats as this developed, and we found out that our garden is in a floodplain, and that's great. It's essentially, it would be very, very difficult for the Expo Center to use these grounds. They'd have to go through all sorts of EPA regulations. And for a garden, we don't. It's good soil because it has been flooded previously. But for a garden, because no one's living there, we wouldn't have any permanent structures or anything like that. We really don't have any regulations to follow. And we met with the Expo Center Advisory Board and are very pleased to say that they gave us a resounding support for this project, and we were very happy to have that partnership.
And the second question is that this doesn't conflict with any programming that Spectra is doing at the Expo Center, either with amusements that come in, RV parking, equestrian events, or any other things.
Thank you. Kellen Seitz, Spectra Venue Management, Kansas Expo Center. The way it's currently proposed and the location of where it's currently proposed would not conflict with any RV parking and any kind of programming that we currently have set out and laid out with some of the redesign. The parking lot restructure, hopefully the city gives civil engineering their blessing on that, and we can move forward with that piece, but that would reconfigure some of the parking lot and really allow us to use more of that. I'm going to get my directions mixed up here, but the northeast quadrant of that grass area, which would be northern and eastern of the current locomotive and the Shawnee County Extension Office gardens that are currently there. Okay. So it shouldn't, long story short, it shouldn't conflict with those locations.
Kellen,
Yes.
It wouldn't conflict with any staging, any storing of equipment. I'm going to look to HTK. I wouldn't think you'd be able to put that in a floodplain anyway.
No.
But I just wanted to make sure that there's not going to be any storage of building materials, anything like that?
No, we, that, that may be a question better answered by Chuck, because, and HTK, because I'm not exactly sure where the staging of the raw materials
Yeah.
might be going for the renovation. But from everything I've heard, it hasn't, but I can't answer that one 100%
Mr.
clearly.
Sneathan may be able to answer that from HTK.
There we go.
Good morning, Zach Sneathan, HTK Architects. No, this area would not be used for really anything construction-related. It would be, I think we'd look for other areas outside of, if we needed additional staging out here, we'd look for other areas outside of this, but we wouldn't, I don't see any impact from the construction standpoint that it would have on this area.
Okay.
So if it doesn't conflict with the renovations and doesn't conflict with Spectra, enhances our community, addresses community health, and doesn't cost us anything,
It's a good thing, but I have one more question. Maintenance of it, maintenance and pulling weeds and, all that kind of thing that goes with it.
That's
Who-
a great question. So this garden would be in addition to the other demonstration gardens that our Shawnee County Extension Master Gardeners take on. We have a couple members here today from that committee, so there's already a committee in place for the community garden, and they would be responsible for maintenance, as they are for the rest of our demonstration
Okay.
gardens.
Good. With that on,
I don't know if it's
an action item
but we
or
grant the blessing.
guess so.
Commissioner Archer?
It's an interesting project. I don't think I've ever seen anyone that was so excited about being in a flood zone and working with contaminated soil, so
We're an odd group.
cheers to you. So, no, it's an interesting project.
I would say, working with Spectra as our agent for the Expo Center grounds, if it works with Spectra, I see no conflict
Yeah.
with the county. Again, this is a presentation item, this really isn't an actional item.
And I hear our county counselor maybe thinking, should we have it as an action item?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
Commissioner
So-
Mueller, then you're moving.
Do we need to have that on another agenda, or can we take action?
Well, the wording of the item says presentation and consideration of a proposed
Okay.
expansion. So they did a combination of they gave you the information, and they're also asking kind of for your
Okay. So I'll move
approval at that point.
Commissioner Bueller has moved for approval.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Look forward to our progress.
Good job.
Our next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Are there any questions regarding the 4 items on the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to approve the consent agenda as presented, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item 4, new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
The vouchers are totaling $1,433,413.72. We have a large amount in pooled cash, which is mostly payroll, $540,078.93. Health Insurance Administration, mostly MedTrack and Blue Cross Blue Shield, makes up $413,148.12. And in the detention facility, $119,646.73. Most of that is Aramark. So I have no questions, move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, Sheriff's Office number 1, consider approval of request to reclassify civilian process servers from range 513 to range 516 to allow recruitment of quality applicants and retain the high-quality employees we already have with funding from the current 2018 budget.
Good morning, Herman Jones, Shawnee County Sheriff here. What we have here is just looking to, again, trying to retain and attain quality employees for the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office that serves as a process server. what we have is, in the state, there are only 3 sheriff's offices that has civilian employees that work as process servers. And as we probably understand, that process servers are those that will issue out the orders from the court, legal documents, civil and criminal, in that case right there, where the individuals are required to have a valid driver's license and be clean of any type of criminal history because of the work that they're dealing with. And then, and on occasions, they're dealing with individuals that may not be happy about the paperwork that they're about to receive. So from that, then, we are faced with some challenges of trying to attract individuals. And one of the matters that comes for that is just the low pay for individuals that are in that position there. We've talked with some of the other individuals, and I know we did CBIZ study some time back, and in our comparison of that, some of those sheriff's officers that were in comparison did not have process servers that were civilians. Shawnee County is in comparison to Sedgwick County. We actually serve more papers than the largest populated county in the state. And they have more employees, those type of things. But our biggest challenge is trying to attract individuals. We've done numerous interviews with individuals. Some have turned us down because of the lack of the pay. And the other part to that is trying to attract individuals that would carry out the duties did not qualify simply because of discrepancies in their background and those type of things right there. So what we're trying to do, again, just like any other employee of the county, is trying to get some quality individuals in and work to fill these positions. We've got a couple of vacancies that we've had open for some time now. We are about to lose another employee, and part of that, quite frankly, says she's going to a job where she can get paid more. And of that, of what we've done with these interviews or so, those that have been able to go through the process of interviewing, probably in the last year or so, maybe 14 individuals have applied that we're trying to look for. 3 of those individuals were not even, 3 individuals that were able to move forward were not able to pass the background. So it's a point of trying to attract quality individuals is what we're looking at right here. So we've talked with HR Director Angela Lewis. She's on board with that. We've talked with the Teamsters as well, and they're on board with that as well.
Okay.
So.
I know that in speaking with some of the members of the court, there's concern about potential backlog when it comes to serving of protective orders in domestic cases, evictions in civil cases, just the timeliness of getting those documents served on individuals so that they're aware of them, and this would help alleviate that backlog.
Yes, it would, really would, and simple like that. And as well, we've talked with Administrative Judge Judge Wilson about some of the concerns we have. We've had to pull in individuals, do an overtime, or take the individuals and switch them over just to fulfill that obligation, which is a mandate by statute or so.
And this has gone through HR, this has gone through the union, everybody's on board with it?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the request.
A second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you.
very much, Sheriff.
Appreciate it.
Our next item.
Item C, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of request to issue an RFP for bus services for summer camps and Old Prairie Town special events.
Good morning, Clay Neal with Parks and Rec. Coming to you before you today to get approval for sending out for an RFP to get bus services for primarily day camps. We use buses throughout the summer to transport kids to go to various field trips, use a lot of our amenities throughout the county to enhance their summer program, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
This is April the 23rd. Are we going to be able to have enough time to get the RFP issued and back and contract in place before camp start at the end of May?
I'm really hoping so, yes. But
All right. I hope so, too. Any other questions?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item C2, consider approval of the Healthy Hometown Kansas Recreation and Parks Association grant application for the purchase and installation of bike racks throughout selected parklands to encourage healthy lifestyles.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Toby, Shawnee County Parks and Rec. The application in front of you is to simply apply for a Healthy Hometown grant through the Kansas Recreation Park Association, and we'll use that for purchase and installation of bike racks through selected parks that we're developing individual management plans for. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions regarding this? Commissioner Archer?
Yeah, what's the average cost of the bike rack, and including installation?
The ones we've selected, I have down, it's around $300, and depending on if we use existing pads or if we have to install new, total, the whole project would be $5,000, but around $200 and some for the rack, and several $100s, $200 or $300 for the installation.
Okay, so we can get about a dozen if we get,
I have down earmarked 8. Yeah.
8,
Uh-huh.
if we can get the full grant.
Yeah.
The other question I had was, there's a bike share program. Is this coordinated with the bike share program? that
Yeah, wherever.
TNTA does?
Sure. So the Topeka Metro puts their bike racks
Right.
out, and we work in cooperation with Carl as far as the selection of the different parks. And then some of our parks that will never be on the Metro routes are some of the parks selected for these as well, because we want to encourage park experiences, obviously, for a 1 to 3 hours time slot for various parks.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions?
Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Court Administration. Number 1, consider approval of request to recarpet the Division 5 courtroom instead of the Division 9 courtroom as previously approved, using $11,603.30 from the Special Project Fund established for the court's cyclical maintenance, and transferring an additional $10,820.45 from the court's 2018 budget to this Special Project Fund, resulting in a total cost of $22,423.75.
Good morning, Charles Hydrits, District Court. In 2017, we made a proposal, and you authorized us to transfer monies from that budget year into this year for cyclical maintenance, which is recarpeting and painting of specific divisions, one of those being Division 9. As a result of the jury box project that we're undergoing right now, we have an opportunity to do Division 15 rather than Division 9 in October. And so what we're asking is for you to allow us to take $10,820.45 out of this year's budget and apply it to that cyclical maintenance deferred dollars, and not use the money that was earmarked for Division 9. So it's just an additional funds that's going to come from our 2018 budget to supplement the monies that have already been put aside. I did discuss this with Betty in Audit Finance, and there's no issue with that, doing that. So we're just bringing it before you for authorization.
How many courtrooms would we have left to carpet?
I'm going to say 6, right off the top of my head.
So this will put us about halfway through.
Correct. We'll do Division 9. It'll be the first one that we do next year.
Have questions?
And all these monies are coming from our budget.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item E, County Councilor, number 1, consider approval of change order number 1 to contract C95-2018 with Champion Builders for the East Topeka Learning Center renovation and addition project for costs related to additional abatement work.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Kraus, Shawnee County Councilor. This is a change order that has been recommended by the construction consultant and the architects for additional asbestos abatement. The amount is $1,298 additional in the project. It still remains within the project budget. I'll be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Does this affect the timeline at all?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Any other questions?
Is this the extent?
Well, this is the extent with regard to asbestos
Yeah.
abatement.
Okay, okay.
I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item F, Administrative Services, number 1, year-end updates on revenues and expenditures for December 31st, 2017.
Good morning, Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services, and I'm here with our December 31st, 2017 financial overview. And I thought I would start by, some people might ask why I'm just now doing the year-end review, and just as a little explanation, there are several items that we received from the state that there is a 2 to 3 month delay in when we receive it from them, say, franchise tax, sales tax, that type of thing. They're actually revenue for 17, but we do not receive them until after that delay. So that's why it takes a little while to wrap up these amounts for you. We will start with revenue. And for 2017, we received $103,726,190. That was compared to our budgeted or estimated amount of $103,700,943, which means we were over budget by $25,247. So just right on budget for the year. This graph just shows the different categories and the amount of each category, and you can, this graph definitely shows that property taxes is the largest category, followed second by other taxes. And I will go category by category. So our first category is property tax revenue. We received $79,595,819. That was $617,000 under estimated. As you can see here, it's slightly lower. And that was mostly made up of two areas on that. Our delinquent taxes were lower by $235,000, which that's something that, we received delinquent taxes, less delinquent taxes this year than in prior years. And that's something that, you just kind of estimate that on prior years, so it's one of those things that it's your best guess. The other item that the NRA, the Neighborhood Revitalization rebates, was actually $372,000 more this year than it was the prior year. And that reduces the tax that we receive, because they pay the tax and then we turn around and pay the rebate to the property owner. So that reduces our revenue. The next category is other tax revenue. We received $12,894,214. That was, again, under budget of $176,000. And the main item in that category was the city and county highway tax that we received from the state. That came in at $255,000 under what the state had estimated for the year. The next category is property-related fees. This is, we received $2,033,448. That is $475,948 over what we had estimated. It was It was actually down by $227,000 from the prior year, and we expected it to be down $600,000. That's where the state laws changed and the mortgage registration fees, that whole structure was changed. And so, whether we overestimated or whether there were more filings than we anticipated is hard to say what that mix is, but probably a combination of both, maybe. But that's where we ended up on that one. The next one is charges for services. We received $4,619,058. That was $588,000 under budget. Most of that was in Parks and Rec, which was $512,000 under budget. It was $191,000 under what we received the prior year. So we had projected revenue to go up this year, which didn't happen. In fact, it went down slightly. And the next category, our last category, is other revenue, which was $4,583,652. That was actually $923,000 over what was budgeted, and it's just a variety of items across the county, including penalty and interest, sales tax revenues, there's tax sale revenues and proceeds, miscellaneous income throughout the county, investment income, those type of things. A couple items that actually went up significantly from the prior year. Penalties and interest was up $116,000 from the prior year, and then our investment income was up $785,000 from the prior year. Now, the investment income and the penalty and interest were both budgeted, but they went up a little bit more than what was actually estimated. Okay, and this pie chart here just shows you the percentages that were received in each of those categories. Property taxes makes up 77% of our revenue. Other taxes, 12%. Property-related fees, 2%. Charges per services, 5%. And miscellaneous revenue of 4%. Before I go on to expenditures, do you have any questions on the revenue side?
Questions?
I don't think so.
No? All right, thank you.
Then we will go on to expenditures. For the year of 2017, we had total expenditures of $103,372,297. That is compared to our budget of $103,700,943. That budget might sound familiar because it's the exact same amount as our budgeted revenues were. We actually have a positive budget variance of $328,646. So we actually came in under budget on our expenditures this year. And this chart is the same, similar to the revenue chart, just shows the different categories and how much how much of the total is made up from each of the different categories. And then again, we'll go through them separately. The first category is public safety. We spent $45,450,274 in public safety. That is $274,000 under budget. That is mostly made up of the Sheriff's Office and then the Departments of Corrections. Those were the two that were under budget. But I will also mention that even though we were under budget in our expenditures, we did spend $1,620,000 more in 17 for public safety than we did in 16. We spent $1,001,000 more in the Department of Corrections and $554,000 more in the Sheriff's Office. Our next category is public health, and we spent $8,921,286, and that's right on budget because we allocate those amounts. Now, you'll see from this that we spent $598,000 less than we did in 16, but I really want to kind of break that down for you. And in our ambulance service, we spent $282,000 less than the prior year. That was from our RFP and going out and our new contract with AMR. We also spent $725,000 less with the health clinic, with it going to Grace Med. So we had those big negatives. But because of those, we were able to increase the budgets of 9 of our programs in public health. Vallejo, we paid an additional $200,000 to them, an additional $85,000 to service programs for the elderly. And then there was, other programs too in smaller amounts. Our next category is administrative services, and we spent $12,932,545 on that. We were under budget by $16,824 as a whole. All of the departments were under or right on budget except for one, and that's the elections office, and they were $184,000 over budget. The next category is Public Works. We spent $10,698,861, and that is $114,000 under budget. The under budget amounts came from the Planning Department and the Appraiser's Office. I will also mention that we did spend $294,000 more in 17 than we did in 16 for Public Works. And I'll also mention that this amount doesn't include items spent by the sales tax or federal or state projects or programs. So this is not the total amount that the county spent on all public works, just this is the amount that was spent out of the general fund. Our next category is Parks, Recreation, and Expo Center. We spent $15,349,087. That is $14,594 under budget, but we did spend $338,000 more than we spent the prior year. And our last category is debt service. We spent $9,982,000, and that's pretty much right on budget, and $93,000 less than the prior year. So not much difference there either. Okay, so this chart just takes each of the different categories, and it shows it's lined up. The blue is our current expenditures, the red is what we had budgeted, and the green is the prior year. So it just kind of shows you that most of the departments are just absolutely right on budget. Public safety is the only one that was kind of significantly under budget for the year. It also shows you the difference between the different categories. You can really, this chart, I think, really shows how much more we spend on public safety than any other category in the county. And then this is the pie chart that gives you the percentages that were spent on each category. Public safety is 44%. The next highest category is Parks, Recreation, and Expo at 15%. Then we have administrative services at 12%, public works at 10%, debt service at 10%, and public health at 9%. Okay, now we come to since this is the end of the year, we can really look now at the change in the general fund balance. As I have here, I have our revenues, which were $103,726,190. We subtract from that the expenditures of $103,372,297, and we have a positive change or an increase in our general fund of $353,893. You can also see the variance, the positive variance from the revenues was the $25,000. The positive variance from the expenditures was $328,000, which brings up this total of $353,000. You can see our revenues were 0.02% variance, and on the revenues, it was 0.32%. So even on the expenditures, it was a third of 1% was the variance. So I would say we were just right on budget for the county. So, do you have any questions for me?
Commissioner Bueller, any?
Betty, do you break down the expenditures by department? I know there was another...
Yes, that was on the report. That was
Okay.
part of the agenda packet. I did not put that up here because I thought it would be too hard to read, but that is part of the agenda packet that is online.
And those departments receive those reports how often?
Well, they can receive it they just get it from our accounting system,
Okay.
which is our One Solution system. They can pull those reports at any time that they want. Our report gives them their budget for the year, how much they've actually spent, what they have encumbered, and then the balance they have left. And they can get those at any time during the year.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Archer?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I was reviewing the expenditures by department, and I wanted to compliment Audit Finance, the Counselor's Office, Department of Corrections, the District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Office, and the Appraiser's Office for managing their budgets very well and saving taxpayer dollars. And then there's the Elections Office. The Elections Office was $184,438 over budget, 16.8% over budget. I think we're all extremely disappointed in that, and I think going forward, there will be severe circumstances in going over a budget like that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think it just goes to show that, we have a lot of people in the Shawnee County that are very fiscally responsible when it comes to managing their budgets and managing their affairs. And a report like this shows those departments that aren't. And I anticipate there'll be some attention paid to those areas that aren't, because we are all held to the budget, and we all need to uphold that budget and be responsible, because it's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money. So, thank you very much, Betty, for the report.
Thanks, Betty.
Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
If any department head or a member of the public has anything to address,
Good morning, Commissioners. Kellen Seitz, Spectre Venue Management, the Kansas Expo Center. I wanted to share a fun little thing we do when we announce shows and concerts at the Expo Center. We call these media drops. Our marketing department takes them out to every media outlet in the community, letting them know exactly what's coming, when it's coming, when tickets go on sale, so they can distribute the communication out to our community members. So for the I Love the 90s tour with Salt and Pepper and All for One and Young MC and Coolio, we created some fun custom koozies and these 90s sodas of Surge. I'm told they have a lot of caffeine, so careful. And we took them out to all of our media constituents on Friday for the public on sale. I'm happy to report it's going very well, and we're very excited for Saturday, August 4th. So I'll share them with you.
I know that Commissioner Archer is looking forward to his surge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming any day now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kellen.
Hi, Carol Marple, Southwest Shawnee County. Could I just ask on the money that we have extra, the $363,893, maybe that was the right number? Is there a plan for that, or will that be allowed to stay in the department where they went under budget?
I'll allow Audit Finance to address where that money goes to.
That money, no, it cannot stay, there is no carryover from one year to the next based on budgetary accounting. So that money will then be added to our general fund reserves. Just like say, there's no way, that's why sometimes we transfer money out to a project fund, because a project fund does carry over and can be used from year to year. But a budget in the general fund has to be used, and what isn't used then goes into the general fund reserves.
So the short answer is the money, the $350,000, was added to the reserves, which is where we have that 25% maximum or achieved threshold, and then the amounts over that were then allocated to Parks and Rec, which is what we did last Thursday.
Yes, but that was $3 million, and I think there's still more. Do we have a final number as to what the total reserve general fund is?
I'm showing as of December 31st of 17, and this is on a budgetary basis, not on a GAAP accrual basis, but a budgetary basis of $34,009,334. And that is as of the end of the year. Now, $6 million of that has been transferred out in 18, so that amount would go down. So it currently would be $6 million less than that, so $28,009,000.
Okay.
So we still have an excess of, which we could discuss, of $3 million as to where we're going to put that or allocate it, correct?
I show 25% of the 18 budget, which is the most recent, so we'd have to take 25% of the 18 budget. I show that as $26,258,993. So that would leave us with excess reserves at the end of the year of $7,750,000, and then we would reduce that by the $6 million that you've already allocated and we have moved out. So I show the excess reserves of $1,750,000.
Thank you. So we're going to increase the 25%, we're going to increase that every year. If the budget increases, which it did go up this year, so the reserve is more, and then if the budget would happen to decrease, it would go less, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we still have $1.7 million approximately that can be spent or something somewhere.
And that's something that the commission would review on an annual basis as we need to.
Okay, so you will be reviewing that because you really can't continue to save it, is that correct?
Well, yeah, yes, we could. There's no mandate that we would have to transfer that money, but we could continue to let it build up, and if the interest continues to gain on that, and so it's an asset of the county.
Okay, but you're already saving 25% of that. I mean, we could always give back to the taxpayers or something. And then I also, I guess there's not a way to figure the interest on the reserve money?
And again, I think that was addressed last week during the discussion of Parks and Recreation, that the interest that's gained on the cash reserves is part of the income of Shawnee County, and that's what was addressed by the Audit Finance Director last Thursday on your question.
True, but if it's in a certain fund, the 25%, should not we know the interest that it gains?
If
And
I-
I'll ask my last question, because
Betty, I believe you mentioned that just in your report, even from 2017, that there was $785,000 in interest for
More than
17.
More than 16.
Right.
Yeah, additional amount, but all of the interest goes into the general
The
fund.
revenue,
And it's not separated out. The reserves are in the general fund. They're not, the 25% is not separated out into another fund or anything separate. It's still part of the general fund. It's just part of the balance forward beginning of the year.
So anyone, I mean, we have our financial updates every third Thursday, correct? For just monthly updates. So anyone who's in the community that has any questions can ask you prior to that day, and then you could address those at that presentation to us?
Yes, I could.
Okay, thank you.
one last comment. So we made approximately $600,000 in interest in 2016, if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yes, that's true.
So, okay, thank you.
Any other administrative communications this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. As mentioned last week, we did have our 18th annual Volunteer Appreciation Banquet last week. It was a huge success, full house. Just to recognize well over 60 volunteers who come in and volunteer well over 5,000 or 6,000 hours a year to a variety of programs, from religious service, education, life skills, parenting skills, and things like that. We had a baseball theme. You're right, Commissioner Cook, it was a home run. And we just had a very good night to celebrate for our volunteers, who deeply appreciated. As I told the volunteers, it's not near enough to give back for what they do to our community and what they do for our staff and for our inmate population, but I thought publicly to recognize them again would be appropriate, so thank you.
Thank you. It was a good evening and good reception.
It was a very nice evening, and your staff always goes above and beyond to make sure those volunteers feel really special.
Yeah, they're the ones that make
They-
it successful for them.
They really
yes.
did, and Ted Heim did a great job.
He did.
As guest speaker, so
Yes.
I really enjoyed it.
Yes, it was very...
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Bueller, anything?
Nope, that was it. That was the highlight of my weeks. Other than the luncheon, of course, and the
No.
presentation there. That was also a highlight.
Yes, glad that it's over and past. So I'm sure the baton will pass on to somebody else next year. Commissioner Archer, anything?
Well, I was just going to talk about the State of the Community address last week, and of all the presenters, I thought Commissioner Cook was definitely the star. He just did an outstanding presentation that I think made all of us at Shawnee County very proud.
Thank you.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. I might note, not to take us off a high note, but this weekend's paper did print the obituary of Terry Simpson. She was a longtime Parks and Rec employee, and just want to recognize that she did pass, and our sympathies to her family, and just all the contributions that she did make to Parks and Rec, and that we really are a family here. And so, just to take a moment for that recognition. I don't have any other administrative communications this morning. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is not a need for an executive session today, so we are adjourned.